Alright, hello again. This video is 8.3 special right triangle notes for 30, 60, 90 triangles. Okay. In this lesson we're going to discover a pattern in bisected equilateral triangles, and then we are going to develop a formula for 30, 60, 90 triangles. So there are two goals that we're going to fix, and then basically use the similar triangles to solve for 30, 60, 90. Okay, so off to the right here, let's start with this being an equilateral triangle. You draw an altitude to the base, okay, now breaks this up to a 30, 60, 90 triangle on both sides. Okay. That being said, if we started with each side length being 2x to make it easy for us, half that side would be x, because we cut this in half. Because it's an equilateral triangle, this altitude is also a median, bisects it, so these two pieces would be congruent. So if this was 2x, each one of these x. Then what you could do is you can do Pythagorean Theorem, which was one of our previous videos, and you can do Pythagorean Theorem and say, okay, the small side is x squared plus, we don't know what this side is, so if I change colors, let's call it y. So plus y squared, and then equals my 2x to then parentheses squared. So this becomes 4x squared, x squared plus y squared. It's minus the x squared over. So y squared is equal to 3x squared, and then we're going to root it. So y is equal to, looks like if I take the square root of x squared, that's an x root 3. So this missing side here is x root 3. So what we just discovered, that is, if you have a triangle that's right, and there's a 30, 60, and 90 degree angles, the side across from the 30, which was here, call it x. The side across from the 90 is 2x, and we just did Pythagorean Theorem to figure out the side across from the 60 is x root 3. That's the triangle that you have to memorize, and it makes these questions a lot easier. So in this first example, it says use Pythagorean Theorem to find the missing side length of the shape. Write down all answers in the table below. So even though it's a 30, 60, 90, what we're talking about is if we did Pythagorean Theorem, we have 5 squared plus a squared is equal to 10 squared. 25 plus a squared is equal to 100 minus the 25 over, so a squared equals 75, and root both sides. We need a perfect answer, so we get 25 and 3 from the previous units that we did, so 5 root 3. So this side is 5 root 3. Notice the pattern sticks. This side's x, this side's double it, this side's an x root 3, right? Now letter B over here. So letter B, we'd have 6 root 3 squared plus b squared is equal to 12 squared. Well, 6 root 3 squared, that's 36 times 3. Okay. And that 36 times 3 plus b squared is equal to 144. So we had 108 plus b squared is equal to 144 minus the 108 over. B squared is now equal to 36, and rooted b is 6. This missing side is 6. So notice the pattern again. X side 6, doubling it, that's 2x, so that's 12. This side is an x root 3. So if we do that pattern, let's look at these other questions here. So across from the 30, what did we say? This was the x side. So instead of doing Pythagorean Theorem, we can look at it and be like, if that's the x side, right? This side has to be the 2x side. So if I double 9, I get 18 for my answer. Okay. See how it's fitting in? This is the side I want. This is the x side. Okay. Well, what do you know? You know this is the 2x side, so you can figure that out. So half of 16 is how much? 8. Or you can look at it, and this is the x root 3 side. What number is x? 8. So this side down here has to be 8. Okay. When we look at the next example here, this side is across from the 30. X, 2x, x root 3. I like writing that in. So what do you know? How much is x? 7. Which makes sense, because if I put 7 in here, I got 14. And if I put 7 in here, this answer is just 7 root 3. And last but not least, x, this side's x root 3, this side's 2x. So look at the pattern. What are we saying? We're saying x is 3. Here, x is still 3. Look, x is still 3. So here, if x goes in here, 2 times 3 makes 6 for my answer. So, what do we have here? The length of the sides opposite the 30 is 5. So what does that mean? The length of the side opposite 60 is 5 root 3. And the length opposite the hypotenuse was 10, so doubled it. Okay. Here we have 12, so that's the double side. So half of that would be 6, which makes 6, this is 6 root 3. Okay. Look up here. What else do we have? We had 9. We have 8. So if we have 9, what was this one? This was 9 root 3. This was 18. We had 8 for the answer. This was 8 root 3. This was 16. We had 7. We had 7 root 3 and 14. We had 3, which made 3 root 3, and we had 6. So notice, the short leg is just the x value. The long leg is x root 3, and the hypotenuse is the 2x. So you kind of have to memorize that pattern. It's it. It just helps you, and that these are exact values when you were doing it that way. Okay. So there's your relationship right here. So short leg is x, the long leg is x root 3, the hypotenuse is 2x. So let's now try some examples on our own. So this might be a good time for you to maybe try and pause it and see if you can do a couple on your own, or do a couple more examples, and then let's pause it after numbers 1 and 2 here. Okay? So when we look at it, let's look at the missing measures. So we have 90, 60, so that means this angle has to be 30. We just discussed that if we do our pattern chart, right, so what we just did there, the 30 side ends up being 4. So then the long leg has to be 4 root 3, and then doubling that gives you 8. So the long leg is here, that's 4 root 3 for y, and then this is the hypotenuse, which is the 2x, which is 8. Okay. Our chart again. So we got the 30, 69. We see it. What do we have? We have the 90 side, which is the hypotenuse. That's 20. Knowing our pattern, this is the 10 side, which makes this 10 root 3. So the 30 side is the 10. That's x. This side is 10 root 3. We haven't really gotten any questions that really extend it, but make sure you're answering what they're asking for. So this says find the missing side legs. Okay. So here we're even going to get a little bit more challenging because we don't start with a normal number, right? In our 30, 60, 90. So across from the 30, so this is the 4 root 2 side. It's the short leg side. Okay. We can double that. That's easy. If you double that, what do you end up with when you double it? So if you took this and times it by 2, you would get 8 root 2 down here. Okay. Now the challenging part is the 8 root 2 goes here because that's the hypotenuse. The long leg side, okay, the x value, that's the hard one. So that's the x root 3 side. So this is where this is your x value, and it goes in, and you're multiplying it by root 3. So you're taking 4 root 2, multiplying it by root 3. Remember, numbers are numbers, roots are roots, so you get 4 root 6 for your answer. Don't over stress about these. Just follow the pattern, memorize it, answer the question that they're looking for. In number 4, it says, what is the perimeter of this triangle? So now we're going to find each missing side like we had in number 3, but then we're going to take those answers and we're going to add them together. So if we were to do that chart idea again, okay, short leg, long leg, hypotenuse. So the hypotenuse is right here. That's 28. This, remember, is half of that. So if that's 28, half of 28, this makes this 14. And then this side, you're multiplying by root 3 from the x. So this is 14 root 3. So the 28, we divided by 2, make this side of 14, and then this side of 14 root 3. That's not the final answer, though. The final answer is, what is the perimeter? So we take 14, we add 28, we add 14 root 3. Only combine your like terms, so the 14 and 28 can be combined. So this makes 42 plus 14 root 3 centimeters for my perimeter. As units, leave the units there. These do not be combined. I don't want to see that you say it's 56 root 3 because you can't combine that 42 and the 14 root 3. At this point in time, it's a good time to now pause it for sure. Try them out and then replay the video to make sure that you are doing them correctly. Okay, so do that right now. Well, if you did that correctly, welcome back. Let's see how well you did. Hopefully you enjoyed this idea of making this idea of the chart. So what side do we have? We have the hypotenuse, which is 16 root 3. Okay, so the hypotenuse is 16 root 3. What do we have here? That ends up being my 2x side. So this is the hypotenuse, the 2x side. So we're going to take 16 root 3 and divide it by 2. And what do we get? 8 root 3. That means this one is 8 root 3. And to get this one, we take the 8 root 3 and multiply by root 3. So this becomes 8 root 9, which is a 3, and 8 times 3 is 24. So here's 8 root 3, and this side is 24. So we found the missing sides, no perimeter needed on this one. Hopefully you scored that correctly. Alright. Next one we look at it. We want the perimeter again, so we're going to take them and add them up, just like number 4. You're going to look at it and say, here's the hypotenuse. So you have the hypotenuse, which is 26 root 2. So that's the hypotenuse, 26 root 2 goes here. When you have the hypotenuse, you take the number and you divide it by 2. This gives me 13 root 2. So 13 root 2 is my x side. So that's this side over the short leg, 13 root 2. Then to get this side here, we take that 13 root 2 like we wanted. So we take 13 root 2 and times it by root 3, and you get 13 root 6 for the long leg. Alright. Now we have to add them all up. Well, we have a 13 root 2 plus a 13 root 6 plus a 26 root 2. What can be combined? This first term here, this last term here. Add them up. So we get 39 root 2 plus 13 root 6. There's no unit. They didn't give us anything, so we'll just call it units at the end. Not like the last question when they told us it was centimeters. Okay. Continue on. Now we're going to get a little bit more challenging because crossing the 60, so this is the long leg, which is 18. If we need to go backwards, instead of multiplying, we're going to be taking 18 and we're going to divide by root 3 because this is the x root 3 side. You can't leave it down there, so you multiply top and bottom. This becomes 18 root 3 over 3. And simplify if you can. The 18 and the 3 became 6 root 3. So my 60 side is 6 root 3. And then if I double it, this becomes 12 root 3. And we're done for finding the missing sides. Like I said, don't stress about it. Just follow the pattern and you'll be fine with answering these questions. Stick it in there because this is a topic that you might see on ECT or SAT, whichever one you end up taking. Okay, so our chart again. We have the 60 side, so this is the long leg. That's the short leg, so the long leg is 21. You gotta go back upwards, so you're taking 21, dividing it by root 3, because this is the x root 3 side. Can't leave it down there, so multiply top and bottom by root 3, so you get 21 root 3 over 3. Wow. So 21 root 3 over 3. And if I double that, you're going to end up with 42 root 3 over 3. So this side, 42 root 3 over 3. And to finish up, same thing here. We have the hypotenuse side is 4 root 6. We want to go up away to x, so that means you're going to divide by 2. So you're taking 4 root 6 divided by 2, and you get 2 root 6. And then to get to the long leg side, so this is 2 root 6. And then the long leg side over here, you're going to take the 2 root 6 and times it by root 3. And you get 2 root 18. But, where some of you stop, but 18 can be broken down into 3 roots of 2, and the 2 in front combines to fight off the 6 root 2 for your answer. So this item is being 6 root 2. Okay. And last but not least, thanks for watching the video here, and we'll get this last one done here. You see the 14, so going back to the other one, we want to know how long the altitude is. So we want this side right here. Well, what do you notice? These are equilateral to begin with, the 30, 60, 90s. These two have to be congruent because the altitude is a median as well in the equilateral triangle. So that means if the 14 and these two are separate, if you divide this by 2, this becomes a side of 7 and 7. Using your 30, 60, 90, you look at it and you can say, hey, from my chart, I know this is 7, this is 14, so this has to be the 7 root 3, which is this side. This is the long leg here. So the altitude equals 7 root 3. Okay. Well, good luck to you on this